Hello everyone, hope you're all well. So today I'm going to invite you to look over my shoulder as I paint these cheerful flowers in watercolor. The techniques that I will be showing are mainly the wet in wet, wet on dry, as well as painting in layers and glazing. The paper that I'm using is Arches Cold Press 140 pounds. I've taped it to my board using this 3M surgical tape that I got from Amazon. I think you can get it in pharmacies as well. I find that it has good adhesion and it peels off easily without damaging the paper. Let's take a look at some of the brushes that I'll be using. I'm going to paint large areas with this Da Vinci Petit Gris Pure number 3. This is a similar brush and it is a number 3. It's a bit smaller. Now this is my workhorse. It's a Meaton number 7. These brushes are very economical and they are great. I purchased the whole set on Amazon. The set included these flats. And there is this one, which is great for one-stroke petals and leaves. And I also got a series of chisel brushes. And I also got several sizes of fan brushes. But this is my favorite. Now this is a small Raphael number 2 sable. Here's my favorite brush again. And this is a smaller sable. It's a number 1 and it's Raphael, good for details. Now this brush, it has stiffer synthetic bristles. And I use it for lifting out pigments. So you'll see me doing that on some leaves later on. Okay, so these are all the brushes that I'm going to be using pretty much for this painting. I'm really sorry that you can't see the drawing. It's so light. Yeah, I apologize for that. But you'll see the painting reveal itself as I progress. So the palette that I use in my studio is a large Robox palette. And it sits on this turntable. And these are all my colors. Wow. They're so gorgeous. So the wells are huge. They actually are large enough to hold a full 15 milliliter tube of paint. So I downloaded this printout from the Roback site and I swatched all my colors so it makes it easier to select what I need. So now that I've chosen my colors, I can start putting them out on my smaller ceramic palettes. This is lemon yellow, which will be the base color for all my petals. So I'm going to wash the color from my brush, clean my brush, and I'm going to paint the first petal with just clear water. I'm being careful to paint carefully around the edges because I don't want the pigment to stray beyond my very faint pencil lines. So that's well covered there. Okay, now pick up some lemon yellow and I paint it onto the wet background. This is the wet on wet technique. You really just have to let the pigment flow into the wet background and you get a nice smooth shaded petal. And this is going to be the background for further shading later on. So I'm going to get some of my other colors ready on my palette. I'll put out some gold ochre, some pearl orange, and I'll be making various mixes with these colors, plus new gamboge to shade the petals. So I'm going to continue painting in the base color of all the petals with the lemon yellow, just like I did on the first one. Yeah, again, I know that the drawing is too faint for you to be able to see it properly, and I really apologize for that. I don't like when the painting is finished that I can see the pencil lines. So that's why they're so faint. For these small sections of the flower, I'm painting directly onto the dry paper. And you can see how much brighter the color is since it's not diluted by a wet background. Just need to wipe off the excess pigment. So the first flower is finished. I'm going to move on to the other flowers, and what I'm going to do is speed up the video and turn up the music because it's basically the same technique, wet on wet, and you can just look along as I do it. You don't need any narration for me. It looks like I'm losing my way here, so I'm just going to have to do a little bit of pencil work, make it clearer on this petal. So I'm painting some details here with new gamboge. It's a brighter and it's a warmer yellow. Okay, so the base layer of all the petals are done, and while they dry, I'm going to mix up some more colors. So I'll be adding quinacridone magenta, quinacridone rose, and mineral violet to my palette, and I'll be adding some greens as well. So terre vert is a nice earthy green. It's somewhat on the cool side. And I'm also going to be mixing a small batch with lemon yellow and mineral violet. The violet has desaturated it. This is phthalo yellow green. And I'm mixing in a little bit of sap green into it. Adding some new gamboge. And this is a deep sap green. I'm going to need to mix the colors for the shadows on the petals. It's going to take some swatching before I get the colors exactly the way I want them, with the right color tone and contrast. So it's just going to be trial and error until I get the right mix. No, it's still too yellow. No, it needs to be a little bit darker. Getting there. Still just a tiny little bit of magenta. Maybe some tiny little bit of violet. And give that a try. I think that's good. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think I'll go with that. Okay, so now I'm going to start shading the petals. And this time I'm going to paint wet on dry paper with a watery mix. This is the wet on dry technique, and it gives you nice sharp strokes that stay where you put them. I'm drying off my brush and I'm smoothing out the edges. Now working into the wet areas with a stronger, warmer yellow. And just dabbing in some tiny little areas with a green hue. There you go. Now I'm going to dry off my brush and try to get that as smooth as I can. Just blending it in. Very light touches. There you go. That's pretty good. Maybe just reinforce the darker tones a little bit. Can't leave well enough alone. You know what? I think I prefer the softer shading and blending that I get by wetting the petal first and then floating in the color. So back to wet and wet. Use a very light touch here. Notice that I'm lightly dabbing in the pigment and letting it flow, letting the watercolor do the rest. Oh, fussing again with this first petal, but it needs to be brightened up a bit. So again, I'm going to speed up the video and I'm going to keep working on the remaining petals. Dab, 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 dab. A light touch is the whole secret to this technique. This petal is still damp enough that I can go in with just a little bit of additional shading. Make sure that there's not too much water on your brush, otherwise you're going to get a bloom. So it's fairly dry, my brush. So since I need some stronger, more definite lines to my shading, I'm going to use the wet on dry technique here. A gold ochre with a touch of pearl orange. It's nice and bright. And just dabbing in some little touches of a desaturated green, greeny blue color. I need to clean up the edges and strengthen the shadows on this petal. just adding some lilac shoots to brighten up the yellow. So I think we're ready to start on the leaves. Some of the leaves are all green and others are variegated green and fuchsia. So this one I'm going to lay down layers on top of layers of wet paint, and I'm just going to let the colors run into each other. So on this very wet background, I'm just floating in a very, very dark, desaturated green. It's a mixture of the terre verte and the mineral violet. So I'm not going to wait for it to dry. I'm going to go straight in with the magenta, and I'm expecting the two colors to run and mingle together. So back over the green with another pass. And again with the magenta. So I'm using my large Da Vinci mop brush to wet a large area for this next leaf. and I start laying in the magenta. It's very wet. So you can see that I've actually mixed in a bit of the mineral violet with the quinacridone magenta. Uh-oh, been a little bit sloppy there, and I've made a bit of a splot. I don't think I can do much about it until it dries off a bit. I can't do much when it's wet, but I'll fix it. So I'm following my reference photo, but there's a lot of color that goes into this leaf. There's the magenta, yellows, and you'll see in a moment that there's even some green in here. I'm smoothing out the blending. Very, very light strokes. A little bit of orange. And another layer of the magenta. I tried fixing the splot, but the paper is still wet, so it's still running. Anyway, I'll do something with it. There's a lot of color in this leaf. It's pretty. So here's my fix. Paper's dry enough. It just looks like the leaf is turned over there. It'll work, it'll work. There you go, that's not too bad. Oh, yeah, get that line right. So I added Perol Crimson to my palette for these branches. It's pretty bright, but I think it works. So I had already painted this leaf and it's now dry. I'm going to go over it now with a darker green, and I will leave the original color to show through for the veins. It's a bit of negative painting. So I'm preparing another large leaf for a wet and wet rendering. Hey, that splot fix is not too bad, is it? Yeah, I'm pretty pleased about that. This is sap green, and I will be floating a lighter wash of phthalo yellow green. And just dabbing in, it's a mixture of pale magenta, a little bit of the mineral violet, and I'm just going to let it run. So another variegated leaf, and the green is already painted. I'm coming in now with a mixture of the quinacridone magenta and violet. So I think I'm going to have to turn my board upside down so that I can paint the top part of the painting without smudging the wet areas at the bottom. Oh, that's a little bit too much water. I'm going to have to sop that up, dry my brush off and pick up some of that water. Look at how that pigment runs into the wet area. This is such a beautiful color. Now when the paper is this wet, you just dab and float in the color and just let the watercolor do what it wants. Oh, nice. I like that. So just have to get some more of these branches in. I have to kind of figure out where they go. I'm a little bit lost. There we go. There we go. Time to flip again. So now we're back to the right side up. So this is a mixture of ochre and orange and new gamboge. Now I've added a touch of pale crimson. Just filling in the bottom of this leaf. I'm going to add another layer of magenta to brighten up this leaf. It needs it. And now my fix for that splot actually looks like the leaf is turned over. Isn't that great? There's a fix for everything. So I'm going to lift off some pigment, dab it, and that will create some veins in the leaf. Make sure that you wash the brush off, clean it, dry it, and then start on the next vein. Going to do the same thing on this leaf as well. I'm just adding a little bit of shading on this leaf. So we're in the home stretch. I'm just going to add a little bit of background color rather than leave it all white, and just some pale green, which I will fade out. So I'm finding that the flower petals are a little bit too pale. So I'm just going to wash a layer of new gamboge over them, very watery layer. This is actually called glazing. And I'm just going to go right over the petals, and hopefully that will give them a little bit more punch. I think that's better. What do you think? Well, thank you so much for sitting through this painting with me, and I hope that you found it helpful. If you would like to see more of my work, please leave me a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Until next time, thanks and bye.